Hello friends, Jay the Silent Cartographer here, and today I was just in the mood to make a map, and so I've opened Wonderdraft and I figured if I'm gonna make a map, I might as well show my map off to the world and see that maybe my map making process will help others out on their journey to become better cartographers, map makers, and storytellers. So I'm thinking maybe a continent here, and so I always start just making shapes and deciding on a shape that I think looks good. You know, now that I'm seeing it, maybe I don't want to make a continent. Maybe I just want to make a. I just want to make. This looks like an interesting little bay area, but not quite what I'm looking for. That's interesting. That's an interesting shape here, but there's not much you can do with it. Oh, invert it though. I forgot about that tool completely. The invert tool. That's this is starting to speak to me. This is something interesting, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. Mm, mm. So that's an interesting shape, but I feel like my problem with these shapes so far is that they're very rigid in a sense. So like if I were to grab my black color here, so basically the way that I see it is there's everything will be broken up into sections, you know? You have like a kingdom here, a kingdom here, a kingdom here, a kingdom here, and a kingdom here. There's really no great way to have like it's very linear. It's all flowing in this kind of direction. And I want something with a little bit more of an amorphous look to it. I'm just in the mood to make that type of map right now, so let's keep generating. Mm. Nope. Yeah, this is interesting. Although, this is the other reason why I don't like uniform is because like this side over here, this shape, kind of takes away from this shape over here. Whereas this shape, I could totally see like an island nation, and then really what I want is like more of this. I want to see what's over that way. Um, I think it'd be an interesting map if that was the case, but unfortunately, not interesting. Next. Hmm. Here's an interesting map. Yeah, I think we can work with this. Have like a something going on right here. Uh Maybe two continental plates have been that's a freaking great arrow that is. Two continental ridges have been coming together and they've created this big mountain range right here. And so the only way to trade is to go across down here by the boats, or over the top, and it's created some sort of land barrier. Yeah, I like that. So let's start off by thinking what kind of terrain would this area be? Well, I think it would actually be forest. So let's get up in brush size. Let's add our opacity back, and that forest is a little bit too dark for me. Although one thing I will say about Wonderdraft is that a lot of the time you'll put color on, you'll think it'll look awful, and then over time, as you add more color to it and more depth to it, it'll actually look really good. So, but I like this forest color right here. I think this is a good forest color. So let's color this all in. Let's get all this colored in. And then do I want to have a different? You know what? Maybe what happened is that it was like some sort of magic shenanigans happened and caused this area over here to go brown, to kind of like dry and die out. And so this area had to be abandoned. And this is all ruins now, and everything's all dried up. And over here, where the fertile land is where people had to wind up, and maybe there's a big crisis there right now. Maybe in this side area over here, there's a sizable crisis because all the refugees coming in from over the mountains have created a lot of problems, and so adventurers have been called in to attempt to salvage what happened. Maybe that's the story of this land. So let's grab some symbols. Let's grab some mountains. I like these mountains a lot, actually. But they might actually not even be tall enough for what I'm looking for. These mountains might be. No, those are too cartoony. There's the new mountain pack that came out. Looks great, but it's not the style that I'm looking for here. I guess these hand-drawn mountains, or no, these mountains might work out okay. Yeah, those are pretty jagged. So we're gonna go ahead and you know, I use these hand-drawn mountains in like every one of my maps, and I hate myself for doing it. But can you blame me? They look so good. I can't justify not using them. And look, they're even kind of faced off, where it looks like the world itself has been shattered up towards this this other area. It's very cool. So, you know, maybe I even made this too big. Maybe I should go back and reduce the symbol scale down. And yeah, it looks better. And maybe we'll have a curve around. We'll even have like maybe a band of thieves or something came and settled right here down on the coast, and they're causing some problems. We'll color these mountains later. But something that you have to do is add foothills to your mountains. I like these little foothills right here, tucking them away, kind of inside of the mountain on the side that's still grassy and green. Use some of these shorter mountains, kind of to supplement a little bit, as if they're pushing into the territory, almost like a wave of rock crashing. And then we'll go back to our little foothills and we'll add another layer of them, this time a bit more aggressively around the side. I really should be using my tablet for this. The mouse is not a precision engineered piece of... God, that saving noise from Wonderdraft scares the shit out of me every time it goes off. But yeah, let's just add this little foothills. Then we can add some going off. You never want to do this. You never just want to have a line of something, because that doesn't look natural. What you want to do is you want to put that line down, and then you want to push it out further, because it's never an isolated incident. There's never going to be just a straight line. There's going to be hills that go out, down, and around, and they are going to form these areas just like that. And, I mean, hills are common. Go out in your backyard, you'll find a hill. Go anywhere, you'll find hills. So don't hold back on the hills. I like to have very busy maps. I know that's not everyone's style, but for me certainly it is. And then there's also these hills that were added in the latest Wonderdraft update that might they're just a bit cartoony. They work for the style that they were designed to fit into, but unfortunately I can't find a spot for them right now. But I think that's good. When it comes to that. So now we're going to scale up these mountains. I'm going to put one or two more of them kind of looming in the background. I'm going to take the small mountains and I'm going to kind of move them back a little bit, just feigning that if this is a continental plate, it would go all the way down the coast. This mountain range, it would look like this. And you know, actually, I don't hate that. But I do want a way through, so maybe I'll take some of these and delete them. Yeah, I'll take some of these and delete them. Kind of leave that there, and then kind of cheat. Say that there's like a flat land right there where the mountains kind of break and give way. And maybe we'll have another mountain range. Maybe it'll be real screwed up. Just fill that in with mountains. Kind of this ring of mountains, this crater. What caused that? What could cause a crater that big to just pop out of nowhere? This used to be a beautiful area. This used to be just like that, and then mountains came everywhere. Maybe a great wizard pushed both of the continents together, and this continent was shattered by the impact of the other one. Maybe it's something like that. But let's go back to our foothills now, and yeah, we can't have we can't have this area be nice and flat. It's gotta have foothills. Snake them along over here. I like the idea of this little lake right here. I'm not actually a huge fan of that little bit of it, but this part of it right here, I'm a fan of that. Okay, back to symbols. This time we're gonna add some trees. We'll take, do we want this tree or do we want that tree? I think that tree. That's a nice tree. And so this area is obviously a very foresty area, a very beautiful area. So we're just gonna go in and we're gonna paint little trees all over these foothills, all over this area here. Just little trees. And we don't want to go crazy. We don't want to fill it in like a forest, because it's not a forest. It's just a bunch of little trees. Just like that. Now we're starting to build out this little area here. You can see these foothills if you try hard enough. You can see the flat, sprawling landscapes with the occasional massive tree, the little foothills pushed up, the colossal mountains standing in front of you. The creation of some power that's so awesome that you can't even comprehend it. Who knows? You keep adventuring. Maybe you'd be strong enough to hold a power like that. Maybe you'd be able to do this. Maybe you'd be able to fix it. For all the people who once lived there. Now, speaking of the people that once lived there, there would have been trees that once lived there. And I don't know actually if there's doesn't look like I have a dead tree option, but I think there might be one under these symbols. There's also these here, these cliffs. Although I'm not a massive fan of these cliffs compared to just although that doesn't look too bad, does it? Yeah, there we go. We'll leave that there. Really what I'm looking for is dead trees. Here they are. Here's some dead trees. Although these dead trees, the problem with these dead trees is unlike the other ones, they don't switch when you place them. So you got to be careful or people are going to realize that your dead trees are a lie. Wait, no, we want no alpha on this. We want to change this to black. There we go, and then that'll give us our dead trees. And what we want to do is we want to go and we want to give the impression that, hey, just like this beautiful forest over here, this place over here used to be full of life. There used to be tons of trees here, just like the other side, but something happened. This forest, whatever it is, now has no trees, or the trees that are there are dead, rotting, and who knows, maybe they're struggling, maybe they're still hanging on, maybe these trees are alive, they're just not green anymore, they're not traditionally beautiful anymore, although there is always an innate beauty in the dead trees in the forest, sustaining future growth. Maybe these trees give birth to animals that are able to live in the area. Maybe they tell their own story, who knows. And then we're going to go back to our trees, and we're going to take a completely different tree, and we're going to, just around the oasis, just so few of these that nobody's really even going to notice they're there, but we're going to know it's there, and that's what's important, is that there's a little forest that's still hanging on. Brown, sure, but still hanging on right around that lake, because it would survive by the water. And then we have these tufts of grass here, which if we paint in a section, it looks like grassland. But if you paint this on the desert, it looks like weeds. Like rough vegetation has taken over that area. And that area is pretty much done when it comes to this stuff. But we got this whole big area down there. We've got cactuses. We put some, just make them not that small, but maybe like that. Maybe some little cactuses. Now those look a little too cartoony for what we're going with. There's these trees, which are, no, although these actually are quite nice for Let's see. Is there a tree nicer than this tree? Because I really like that tree. No, I think this tree over here is gonna be what's gonna be, because this is gonna be our real forest here. We're gonna have a grand old time making a real forest by this lake, and we're gonna increase the density, increase the rate, and we're just gonna paint trees. Just gonna color this in. It's the problem with going too fast is you sometimes put trees in a lake, and trees don't grow in lakes, and that's too dense, too dense, too dense, too dense. So, no shame in starting again. It's a beautiful digital art. So let's change this down. Maybe instead of a high density, maybe I instead go with a very low density. We make the edge of the forest here. Curves around, surrounding this lake. It's protecting the lake, the forest, you know. Just powerful druids live in this forest. Maybe one of those druids, maybe the head of the druids was the one who slammed the lands together. A desperate attempt to slay a god who fell from heaven and was threatening to take over the world. And so this great druid begged the land for permission to destroy his home, because his home used to be in the forest over here. He would sacrifice his home, he would sacrifice his own land in order to stop this force, and in doing so he did. The world is safe, but there's still that dangerous area over there. And God, these trees look great. So we're just gonna paint that in. We're gonna paint down here in, just like that. Put some, and then I'm gonna switch back to the to the other trees. We're gonna up the symbol size. We're never gonna see these things. And these trees we're gonna just stick everywhere else. These trees are gonna be our staple tree, and I'm just holding the mouse down at this point and painting these trees in, because they're gonna fill in all those blank spots, and we're actually gonna increase the placement rate back to 1. And that way, it makes those other trees that we selected a bit more special, because as it stands, they weren't very special, but now they're very special. You can see all the variety in there now that they have something to contrast with, which is the other trees right here. And now we're going to once again go around the outside. We're just going to place some trees. Transition from dense to sparse to nothing. You should always strive to do this in your maps, because density is it's not sustainable. Eventually, there's going to be sparsity. There's going to be less of something. Just like that. And then we got this big area right in the middle, and you know, I think I'm going to create some of those tufts of grass. I'm just going to make some maybe those aren't the tufts of grass that I want to use. Maybe I want to use these tufts of grass. You shrink them down a little bit. Yeah, that doesn't look bad. It's kind of a savanna going on here. And I'm not holding down the mouse button, I'm highlighting. I'm adding small amounts of detail everywhere. Yeah, maybe I'll even add some over here. Some grass or something. Let's give the desert some texture. As of right now, it looks barren to the point where it's boring. You never want something to, you don't want to look at something and be like, wow, that's boring. You want to look at something and be like, what happened there? What is that? Why is that? And so just these little things, these little grass in the foothills, showing signs of life everywhere. And then we're going to take these trees again, we're going to increase our size because trees are not tiny. And we're just going to add these tiny little areas of trees. And you can close your eyes and do this because you don't want it to be so obvious that, like, for example, if I put a tree here, then here, then here, then here, you're going to notice immediately, your eyes are going to be drawn to that, so you don't want it to do that. But if I cover my eyes and I say here and here and here and here, like, even then, I don't even know which trees I put down. I can't find them anymore because they're not normal. They're not there's no rhyme or reason to them, and I mean, there's no rhyme and reason to nature. Nature is a random force most of the time, as much as we might try to convince ourselves it's not. Truly, it is. So we're gonna go back here then, and we're gonna add some bigger foothills. Add some bigger foothills over here, and then maybe we'll add a mountain range. Maybe we'll shrink our mountains down real small. And I mean, while the giant mountains that separated the planet certainly are not. I mean, I was going to say they're not beautiful, but that's not necessarily true. They could be very stunning, they could be very striking, but that doesn't make them a place you'd want to go. But these mountains, maybe these are mountains you want to go. Maybe this is a place you want to see. And so we'll just start curving this mountain range up a little bit. Mountain ranges facilitate a lot of other things as well. We'll make it curve around here. Mountain ranges provide protection. They provide lakes and rivers. Fresh water comes from the mountains, comes from the tops of mountains. So if your map has no mountains, then where's your water come from? The sea? Are people drinking salt water in your world? I certainly wouldn't want to do that. I certainly would not want to do that. So let's add some mountains. And then maybe the mountains are hugging this forest in. Maybe they're a natural barrier for this forest, and the sea breeze is, because this happens a lot in mountains, is that one half of the mountain will be covered in vegetation and foliage, and the other side will be a barren land because the mountains block the wind. And so we can imagine why this area in the middle would be so barren, because there's this ridge line here that's preventing that from traveling. And then finally, we have our map. Now we have to populate that map. We have to see who lives here and what they do. So let's go ahead and grab some symbols. We'll make our symbols, let's make them blue, it's a bit of a deep blue, maybe something like that. There goes that saving sound scaring the hell out of me again. Okay. That's a nice blue. So, if all things considered, where we'll use the biggest symbol scale just to or maybe not the biggest. Let's use 60 is good. 65 probably is good. Where would the capital city be? Well, if the druids live in the forest and the mountains are inaccessible, well, I'd imagine that the capital would be somewhere on the water here. Or it would be somewhere in the middle, maybe a center of trade. Yeah, maybe it is the center of trade. Maybe it's somewhere around here. You know what? Maybe we'll wait on the capital for a place that makes sense to be the capital. For now, let's just put down some towns. So there's definitely one in this little alcove here. There is a town over on this river here that belongs to the druids. There's a town along this water that's a fishing village, and another one up here that's how the adventurers ferry themselves across. There's a town in this forest up here that's focused on gathering wood, and there's a town over here that's a port that's designed to get resources in and out. There's a town in the middle that kind of links the trade, and there's a town in the forest that is designed to get wood. There's a mining town that is nestled in the mountains over here. There's another mining town nestled in the mountains over here. And then finally, there's a town in the desert over here that is the hub. Sorry, I'm just adjusting in my chair. Of people coming and crossing over to go and explore these lost territories. So of all of these, where would the capital be? I guess there would also be a town here to facilitate travel between here, and there'd probably be a town up here as well that kind of acted as the entrance into this wooded area. And I'm still not 100% sure, so let's go ahead and do the paths next. We're going to make our paths, let's make this our path. Let's make our path a brownish color. Maybe that would work. No, that's a bit too hard to see. Hard to see is a good way of putting that. So maybe we can't make it brown. Maybe we have to make our colors something a little bit more noticeable. Maybe like a maroon color here. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so where are our major roads? Well, this town right down here would go to this town right up here. And this town would, of course, service that town, but it wouldn't go straight there. It would go around the foothills, maybe down a little bit, and then it would go here. And then both of these towns would then go into this road. So this one would go right here, and then this one would go around, and there would be a little crossroads right there. And then actually, you know, what's going to happen here is I'm thinking of actually making another town. And the reason for that is very simple. If we go to symbols and we take our thing, I want to move this town to here. Because towns will often pop up in crossroads. They'll be towns with inns and there'll be trade routes. Like if this place brings stone and this place brings lumber and this place is a port and this place brings stone, then this town that has a road connecting all of them will become very influential. It'll become very important. And so this town right here is probably actually where our capital is going to be. So we can actually... but really quickly, I also wanted to add a town right here, which is where this town meets that town and goes over there. And if we go to paths here, we can choose right now, with our path, which of these is going to be the more important of the city. Because this trade route right here would come over and around here, and it would link up to that. This port would link up to that. This town would probably go straight to that town. And then this town, of course, would go straight to that town. But this town here, if this town here went up here, this town would connect to that town instead. And this town would connect to that town and this town. You know what? Can I get rid of that? Yeah, I can. So here's what I'm thinking. Maybe this town needs to be deleted. Maybe this town is wrong. And then we go to paths, we select this path here and we delete it. We select that path there and we delete it and we draw a new path. And this path is going to come up around here, go down along the coast, is going to intersect right there. And this is going to intersect right here. And then this is going to come out of the foothills. It's going to connect like that. And then we're going to take a different one. We're going to take this little hatched path here, and we'll say that maybe they created a second path up to their friends. And we'll say it starts a little bit down the road just to make it a little bit more logical that they created this footpath over there. And then we're going to take this path going down to the adventurers area, and we're going to delete it. We're going to take this path down here. Oops, wrong path. We're going to take this path and we're going to move it down to this area. And then, because my thinking for this is that the people who would go over to the desert, the adventurers who would go this way, this would be a staging town. This wouldn't be an industry town. This wouldn't be a trade port. This might be a lake, for all we know. And this, all it really has going for it is the fact that it's going over the water. And so we can actually, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. We can actually draw with a much thicker path that this has a shipping route over to there. That's a bit ugly though, don't you think? So maybe we'll do dots instead. Maybe crank the roughness up real bad. Although actually no, if it's a sailing path then it should be very smooth. Here we go. Down, over, and up. There we go. Okay, so where's the other logical road then? The other logical road would be a road significantly less traveled. Now I forget how big my roads were. That looks about right. Which would go from here all the way down to over here. Although I think that maybe that actually wouldn't even be the case. So this town down here as well would be fairly isolated for lack of better terms. But we found something important, and what we found is our capital city. So we go back to symbols, we go to capital, and we put the capital right there. So now the capital is the center of industry and trade for everything. It gets the lumber from the forest, it gets the lumber from the other forest. It supplies the in-town for people coming over from this other kingdom down here, because this is a different kingdom. It services this mine here and this mine here. So everything that comes through this empire here comes through this one city. And so that city is in a great position to be in power. Forts and military defenses. I think that there would probably be a fort here or here. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it would definitely be here, because the mountains provide a lovely little area for there to be a fort. And there would probably be another fort up here, which would be kind of the first response of anything coming out of the mountains that the Empire would have to worry about. And that, I think, just about sums it up. Let me just look through my symbols here and see if there's anything that I'd like to add. No, there's not particularly anything. Although, actually, do I have any, like, ruins? We have ruins. We could... Ooh, that's kind of cool, actually. We could shrink that down, maybe, and add, like, a ruined tower. Stonehenge. Could we encircle the we could do. We could put this down like that, and then we could take the broken tower and we could stick it inside Stonehenge there as some sort of ruins of ancient civilization. What's this? That's just a full-ass Colosseum. That's kind of useless. A bridge. Ruins of a bridge. These are colored versions of everything there. It's kind of a city-looking thing. Maybe put one of those over there. Just add some history to it. Alright, so that seems to be all the ruins. I'm just going to take one last look through. And then... water. That's kind of cool. We could add a... It doesn't really look good unless we put it... Yeah, we could put it over here so it looks like... Because it almost draws attention to the ruin, where it's like, hey, look what's over here is this big ruin, so we could put that there. And actually, you know what we could do? We could up this to 32 directions. And we could put it over here. And then overlay, grid, pattern. We can do a flat hex. Make the lines real small. Oops. And put it below the symbols to kind of hide it from the from that. I kind of wanted it to not be water only, but be land only. But no, I guess actually, yeah. Let's get rid of that. Oops. Can I redo? Redo here. Redo. Got rid of the little house up there. And then, I mean, we could add a border here, but see, I'm not sure if I like the frame. I like the tinted corners. I'm not sure if I like the frame though. scale it way down, get less of a frame, and then make the tint a nice brown. Wood doesn't really add anything in that case, though, so it's better just to turn it off. Well, that does add a little bit. No, we don't want scale. We don't want measurements of any sort. No. Although we could do regions. We could do that. Just a real sloppy region over here. Although that looks real crap. We can just let it up. I'm kind of not enjoying the fact that the symbols are all blue, but actually I see something I want to change. So let's go to paintbrush. Let's toast that. Let's grab land. Let's erase that little nugget of an island out there. Maybe kill that as well. Oh, rivers. We haven't done rivers, so let's do some rivers. Let's see, how's the width of that looking? Pretty okay. So we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna drag some rivers over here. You can't really see them through the trees, and so we don't really care. However, there's gonna be a river coming right next to the capital city, which is essential. Absolutely essential that the capital city is getting some sort of river love, as society would collapse without rivers, and that is a true statement. And maybe another one goes down into here. Maybe another one goes down into there. Maybe it has a friend. And then a real big river coiling off of that. Going like that? Maybe no. Because I feel like the way the water should flow is this way. So yeah, maybe we do that. Maybe we do something like this. Maybe like that. Up like that. Shrink the thickness of that down a little bit, actually. Make it come out right here. Yeah, that looks way better. That looks way better. Victory! Rivers for everybody! It's the most important step of making maps, is to make sure that every settlement has rivers. Just like that. You might think it nonsensical. You might say, oh, well, it's so convenient that every city has a river next to it. And to which I'd say, yes, go back and look at history. I would bet with any due certainty that you have a river right near you, if if I had to guess. Now, finally, let's add a lake. Probably should have done this before the rivers, but screw it. Where do we want to add this lake? We'll add the lake right there. That's not where I clicked that. Thank you very much. Click. Interesting. It does not want to put a lake up there. That's actually a See, guys. You know, okay, so maybe it goes where the cross is, regardless of the shape. That's a bit annoying. Yeah, that's what it is. So if we want this to fit here, we gotta click around here. Okay, now we're gonna go back into symbols. We're gonna grab our little grabby brush. We're just gonna move the plants out of the water, because plants do not grow in lakes. Well, these plants do not grow in lakes. Other plants might grow in lakes. Perfect. Cool. Very good. And we're going to go to our trees menu. Let's just increase the symbol size, and let's just give this lake a few trees. Because lakes cause trees to happen. And then water, rivers, and we're just going to go ahead. We're just going to knock a river right into that lake. We're going to take a lake and knock it into that river. Now, lakes will basically never have more than a single outlet. So if I do this, for instance, I wouldn't also do this. I wouldn't also do that. Because lakes will basically form a path of least resistance from where the water starts to where the water finishes. And if there's an area of low land that is hard, not earth, like stones, sediment, bedrock, etc., the water will pool, and then eventually the water will find the location of that basin that is easiest to get out, and it will flow that way until it hits something else. That something else usually either being another river or ocean. So that is how lakes work. And so I'm wondering. No, I can't select it because it cuts it, right? Because I was going to try to edit that that river right there, kind of make it come up a little bit more. But no, I enjoyed this. And actually, you know, now that I'm here, now that I'm looking at it, I can go back to the mountains, make really small mountains, and cut a little mountain range that just kind of makes those foothills seem a little bit more than what they are. Make these foothills just a little bit more than what they are. Really make that area stand out. Now I'm going to go to trees. I'm going to go to this little grass that I was using before. I'm just going to fill in this area here that I find boring. I'm going to fill that area in. Fill that area in. I'm just going to trash this area with grass. And just like that, we have a map. And I don't know how long this took, if I'm being completely honest with you. It looks like my recording is 40 minutes, which is insane, if that is true. If you've watched an entire 40-minute recording of me making this, thank you. I had a lot of fun. I told a little story, I made a little map, and I enjoyed this map. Things that I think I could have done better. I definitely think that this might be a little bit too much with the rocks. Although it does tell an interesting story, and it does get the point across. Might have been a bit too much. The colors, as well as, are inconsistent, and I'm not about to go back and redo them, but I probably should have made them consistently one color. And I made the main empire, this human empire here that got pushed out of this area, too big. I would have liked to have like one group of people up here, maybe one group here, maybe one group down by the lake. But I really kind of shoehorned myself into drawing the map for a single empire. And while this empire could absolutely be the focus of a D&D campaign or something, I always like to add a couple of different factions. But yeah, I could totally think of adventures that players might want to go on here. Maybe these mountains are crawling across the landscape, reclaiming land as they go, and the players are sent around to the other side to stop the great desert mage who's causing it in these ruins. Any manner of low-level adventure could happen in any one of these cities over by the forest or over in the mountains. Maybe bugbears have found a way through the mountains and they're attacking this mine town, so the capital city has dispatched the best adventurers it could scrape out of a tavern to go and face them. Maybe the elves of the forest have wrongly assumed that the humans have desecrated their land and have launched a full-out assault, taking massive territory and pushing the players into a war. There's tons that I could do with this map, and that's one of the reasons why I love making them. So yeah, if you enjoyed, please leave a thumbs up on this video, and hey, let me know in the comments down below what adventure would you run on this map? What do you think is going on here? Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.